Hello, I'm Joe Calvaruso, Executive Director of the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Foundation. On behalf of the foundation, we are pleased to announce this year's honorable mention for the Gerald R. Ford Journalism Prize for Distinguished Report on National Defense in 2019. The Gerald R. Ford Presidential Foundation honors journalists for their reporting on the presidency as well as on national defense. The awards recognize reporting excellence in the fostering of better public understanding of the presidency and national defense. Each year, honorees are recognized at a reception event in Washington, D.C., but because of COVID-19, we are presenting this year's awards virtually. To present this year's honorable mention for distinguished reporting in national defense in 2019 is Stephen Ford, son of President Gerald R. Ford and Betty Ford, and trustee of the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Foundation.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate the help there. Hey guys, I want to welcome you on behalf of the foundation board, and it is a great honor for me to help recognize Reuters News and the great reporters they have there. Christopher Bing, a cybersecurity reporter, and Joel Schectman, an investigative reporter, who received a honorary mention for the 33rd annual Gerald R. Ford Journalism Prize for distinguished reporting on national defense in 2019. And Christopher and Joel were honored for their seminal reporting in the Project Raven series of articles that unveiled for the first time to the readers and myself. I was very impressed the extent of which foreign governments use sensitive cyber hacking tools to track internal dissidents, intimidate their citizens, and attack perceived foreign foes. Particularly troubling to the readers and myself is how a pipeline of unchecked former U.S. government intelligence veterans now working overseas are helping them to do so, and how these operatives and their tools are being used to target U.S. citizens. Now, I want to tell you, after considering a lengthy roster of great submissions, every year we get some fantastic submissions for these awards, the judges shared the following sentiments of Christopher and Joel's reporting, and I read to you, I quote here, here's what the judges had to say, guys. These articles were written about actions taken in service of the United Arab Emirates, but the implications for the threats posed by the use of these techniques by other nations, both to stifle internal dissent and to influence the dialogue in other nations, is clear and sobering as the coronavirus rages worldwide and another election looms in the United States. This type of in-depth, long-form journalism is atypical of newswire services, but represents the kind of enlightening work we hope to see more of in the future, guys. The judging committee congratulates Mr. Bing and Mr. Schectman for their great work and strongly urges them to continue their impactful reporting on this topic and continue to dig deeper so that this vital area of national security conflict receives the public attention it demands. Congratulations. I have to tell you, my dad loved these awards. He loved the press. Now, I can tell you that he didn't always agree with the press he received when he was president, but he felt very strongly that it was so important to have a strong, transparent press to have a healthy democracy in this country. He every morning he read 5 or 6 newspapers, and I'll tell you a quick story here. He started with some of the national newspapers, Wall Street Journal, the Post, Chicago Tribune, LA Times, and the last newspapers he would read would be his local newspaper, maybe the Grand Rapids Press or the Palm Springs newspaper. And I asked him, why do you read the local newspaper last? And he would say, I read the big newspapers to figure out what the federal government is trying to do and where they're trying to send money and programs. And He says, I read the local newspaper last to find out if any of that ever worked for the local community. So that was his theory on newspapers, and he loved the news. So congratulations, guy. Great reporting. The series was very interesting. As I was mentioning, it read like a spy novel. I was waiting for Tom Cruise to jump out, and you know, the whole thing, the Project Raven, dark matter, karma. And I was joking with you earlier that I had a discussion with my wife this morning that I'm glad I have an Android phone and don't have an iPhone anymore. Your article kind of expressed the idea of hacking and which phones were more vulnerable. But thank you. It's not a spy novel or a spy movie. This is real life, and we appreciate you letting us all know what's going on out there. So I know we sent the awards to you. Hopefully you got them, and can you show those awards and maybe say a few words about receiving our award for journalism? Great. That looks fantastic, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Just to say a few words. We're honored by this award and really feel blessed that Reuters supported us to do this work over the last year. We really felt this topic was important because we understand the incredible responsibilities and difficult job that the U.S. intelligence community has in protecting this country. But at the same time, what we found in our reporting was that many former U.S. intelligence officials that were highly trained, that the U.S. government spent years training in providing deep expertise in hacking, were moving to a foreign country, were moving to an autocratic regime and helping them stand up their own surveillance capabilities. And as a result of our reporting, we've seen action in Congress to limit this type of transfer of skills and talent. We have seen public call-outs by nonprofit organizations and lawmakers to stymie this type of activity. And we're just happy that we've been able to shine a light on it to some degree. And we know that it's still continuing in some places, and we look forward to continuing to report on it.
You know, I think, you know, we're very fortunate to live in a free society, one where you can sort of say the things you want about people in power. You know, but I think you always have to remember that freedom is actually something that's very fragile, because it's not just about you know, being able to say something and not being prosecuted for it, but it's also being able to feel like you have the freedom to say, you know, to speak your mind and to say things against leaders or to say things against powerful people. And I think what we found in this story is that, you know, the internationalization, I guess, of surveillance really threatens that freedom, because when people start to feel like everything that they're saying is being monitored, like, and they don't have any space where they're safe to speak their mind, you know, you start to see that freedom erode. You start to really see people feeling like they have to self-censor themselves and even censor maybe the way that they think about things to a degree, because you know, because there isn't a safe space for them to express those opinions, where it's not going to be like monitored by, like, you know, like this team of operatives that are parsing through every word you say and looking for you know, looking for something, for dangerous speech or dangerous ideas.
Well, I was so captured by your series, and that the one moment when I was reading the articles, when Lori Stout stepped off the plane at Dulles International Airport, and here she was working for another government to surveil, and all of a sudden she steps off the plane, met by the FBI, and obviously she was being surveilled, you know, so it all sort of tied together. That was a powerful moment in the series. Thank you, guys. Beautiful work. Keep it up. Dad would be very proud of the work you did, and we just thank you very much. Keep it up. And Joe, I want to throw it back to you.
Congratulations goes to Christopher and Joel and to their fellow dedicated reporters at Reuters. This concludes this year's honorable mention presentation for distinguished journalism on national defense in 2019. Thank you.